Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.
Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning. And today we're talking about how to stop discrediting yourself. So I was recently working with a client on the issue of discrediting herself. And I thought, that would make a great podcast episode because so many smart, capable professionals discredit themselves and sometimes without even realizing. So in this episode today, I'm going to define what discrediting yourself actually is. I'm going to share my client's reflections. She kindly gave her permission. So now she has stopped discrediting herself. She's on the other side of the fence. She's sharing her reflections back. We're going to explore why I think this happens. And we're going to look at what is the alternative. So if you stop discrediting yourself, what can you do instead? So first off, what does discrediting yourself actually mean? Well, I took a kind of amalgamated working definition from looking online. And in this context, discrediting yourself at work refers to behavior, action, or communication which undermines your authority, erodes your credibility, and potentially damages your professional reputation. Now, usually and often this isn't intentional. It comes from a lack of confidence, a lack of safety, or a lack of self-trust. But the impact is really real, even when the intention isn't. So common behaviours in terms of how discrediting actually shows up at work, it might be downplaying an accomplishment or an achievement. So it might be, it was nothing, I got lucky, and anyone could have done it. Dismissing praise or, sort of pushing away a compliment. That's one way it shows up. Another is undermining your own authority. And that might be using very tentative language. I used to hear this in meetings quite often. And once I started noticing it, I couldn't stop. So tentative or minimizing language. Examples, I just think that I'm not sure, but this might be a bad idea. This might be a stupid idea. This might not be relevant, but you might have heard some of those examples in meetings, in conversations at work. Maybe you've even said them yourself. It might be second-guessing decision-making out loud or seeking reassurance. Does that make sense? Or is that okay? Or what do you think? Am I off there? Is this a mad idea? And when I've seen it myself in meetings, in conversations, people will tend to put those sentences before they go to say something, before they go to share an idea, make a point, and it has the effect on the listener of pre-framing what it is they've got to say, which is probably a good point and is probably sensible and is very unlikely to be stupid at all. That it shows a level of hesitation. It betrays a potential lack of confidence and a lack of trust. If you've got something to share, I'm sure it's worth sharing without any qualifying language. So I want to share a little bit of my client's story from the other side of the fence, as she said it. So where she is now, where she stopped discrediting herself. So she came to me, and this was one of the main things that she wanted to work on. She wanted to stop discrediting herself, especially she wanted to stop rejecting praise that other people offered her and kind of deflecting their celebrations. And she wanted to stop downplaying her expertise and her authority. And when I was having this idea for the episode, I emailed her saying, is it all right to mention you in this episode? And is there anything that you'd like to share? Because I think it's great for you to hear from her rather than just from me. And she emailed me back and she said, it's funny you've emailed me at this moment because I'm just listening to a recorded session from 6 months ago. So as part of the work she does, some of her sessions where she's facilitating, she's leading a group of people have to be recorded and she has to listen back to them for the work. And she had listened to that session from 6 months earlier. And in her words, she said she noticed herself constantly saving face, jokingly belittling herself and discrediting both herself and the project. And she said, now that I'm on this side of the fence, I keep thinking, why did I need to do that? She also said she felt sad for the version of her who did that, and also a bit mad for doing us, as she put it, a disservice. She went on to say why she thought that it was happening. She said, at the time, I told myself that it was happening because it was about me staying humble. But she says, looking back now, I can see that there was a lot more going on. Her reflections were maybe she didn't want to believe that she deserved the credit. Maybe she had a fear of being wrong. Maybe she had a fear of being judged. Maybe it was a bit of imposter syndrome, i.e., am I a fake? Am I a fraud? Should I even be here? And maybe it was because she'd left her previous job and she'd entered another world. She'd entered the world of academia, which felt like a new and unfamiliar world. And maybe it was because she had a running internal narrative that said, I probably am wrong, and what I say probably has no merit. And her key insight was that she didn't just think these things internally, that probably I'm wrong and probably what I say has no merit. She was broadcasting them externally. So she bombarded other people with the same message about her value that she was hearing on the inside, that she was believing on the inside, i.e., that she was probably wrong and what she said probably had no merit. And that's why she was using this minimizing language. That's why she was rejecting celebrations and deflecting praise. Because her internal narrative was, I'm probably wrong, and probably what I say has no merit. And while I'm thinking that and I'm believing that, I'm not just believing it on the inside, I'm telling you that that's what I'm thinking and believing. And it's coming out in the form of discrediting. And she noticed, really sensibly actually, that gender and social conditioning probably play a role in all of this. Messages like be just enough, but not too much. Take up space, but not too much space. Whether that's because I'm a woman or whether it's because I'm from a different background. Often these things do have a part to play. So that was her insight. And I hope that by sharing some of her insight, it may have set some little bells ringing for you. But over to you. Why might this be happening for you? And you're probably not thinking this consciously, but often when I talk to people about this, the kind of unconscious justification is if I lower your expectations first, it's going to be better for me if something actually does go wrong, or if you give me some criticism, or if I feel rejected. It's going to hurt less if I've already done it first. And of course, I don't think that is necessarily the case, but that is the kind of logic around discrediting. But here's the cost, of course. You quietly undermine or erode your own authority, potentially. You could make your work easier to overlook. You might make people feel less confident in the things that you're actually saying, even if they're really worthwhile and good points. If you're saying, oh, this might sound stupid, but you're kind of priming people in the totally the wrong way. And you're doing yourself just a disservice. And probably not on purpose. So it's not like you're out to trash your own reputation and do yourself a disservice just for the hell of it, for the fun of it. Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that. Nobody would do that. But it might be some kind of protection strategy. Or it might be that it's secretly what you're fearing and thinking on the inside, a bit like my client was, that she's probably wrong and probably what she's going to say doesn't have any merit. And therefore, she needs to get that out first and tell you that. So what's the alternative to discrediting yourself? And this is worth thinking about. Maybe it's letting your work speak without apology. Maybe it's just making and trusting the point that you're going to make. Maybe it's accepting praise without deflecting it. Maybe it is taking away all those tentative statements and saying, here's my view. No apologising, no minimising, And I don't think this means that you have to overinflate yourself or make a performance out of being confident. But I do wonder what would happen if you decided to stop undermining yourself. If you decided or committed to that, it would bring up any challenges or any issues with doing that. And then you would know for you what this is about. So could you just decide from today, I will no longer undermine myself, and see what comes up? If deeper work is needed on this, you might have to figure out what it is, like my client did, that was creating the need to discredit, so that you could really look at that and think, okay, is that actually right? And do I actually need to keep doing that? Do I need this as a protective mechanism? Is it working as a protective mechanism? Is it getting me the result that I want? Is it preventing me from some fear or feeling? Because I don't think that discrediting yourself makes you humble. I think you can be humble if you choose to be, and not everybody does, but if you want to be, and that's important for you, I think you can do that without minimizing or discrediting the things that you have to say. You can be very clear and confident and still be humble if you want to be. And humble is not right for everyone, but discrediting yourself doesn't make you humble. I think it makes you invisible. It can make people trust you less. And it definitely gets in the way of you feeling confident at work. And that doesn't have to be about being loud or being dominant or being arrogant. It's about standing behind what you bring without apologising. That is our kind of confident at work. So if you would like help to stop discrediting yourself, and you would like to take it deeper than this podcast episode and be supported, go to the link in the show notes, book a call and talk to me about private coaching or joining the Confident at Work membership. They are the places where we take this work and we start applying it to your challenges, to your work day, and to the things that you're struggling with. It is amazing when podcast listeners turn into clients, and it happens all the time. So if you're considering it, head to the link in the show notes, book a call, and let's see what we can do to help you feel more confident at work. See you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident. Confidence, confidence, confidence.